Huawei's latest Matebook, Lenovo's new gaming cubes got handles, real-time satellite imagery for free, and quite a bit more coming up on TekThing. This episode of TekThing is brought to you by Opsgenie. Your next incident doesn't stand a chance. And by our beautiful patrons. A big thank you to Bobby, Sean, Mike, and Kathleen. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, the following notebook you're about to see is not from Lenovo, it's not from Dell.
Nope.
Nor is it a Chromebook.
What could it be?
The Huawei Matebook X Pro, which is...
so cool.
You know, your basic luxury, ultra-thin laptop.
It is very ultra-thin. You can find all the information about it over at Huawei's website over here. But basically, this thing is a totally spec'd out travel-friendly notebook that is for professionals, and it has this long-lasting battery. It has really good quality, but this is something that you would buy if you don't need graphics-intensive performance, like for editing or 4K gaming. It does include Windows 10 built in, which you can obviously see here, but it does require some updates upon boot up, which I did figure out when I opened this up out of the box. It's pretty interesting, and this was really fun.
I don't think I've seen a PC since the beginning of Windows 10 that didn't have at least one massive update between when it left the factory and when it showed up on my desktop.
Exactly, and this one did have a pretty massive update that I had to do before I was able to install anything. But once I got it up and running, I was having a really good time watching a lot of entertainment on here because the screen is beautiful. So obviously, the first thing that you'll notice with this is the slim design. It weighs less than 3 pounds. This thing is tiny, and it is 14.6 millimeters thin, and it's made with aluminum alloy, giving it that nice lightweight feature. And it's available in 2 different colors. We have space gray, and then they also have a mystic silver color. And both of them are shiny, and yes, they do pick up fingerprints. I noticed that as well. So keep that in mind if you decide to purchase one of these. And then you open it up, and you've got that lovely display that I was talking about previously. So once it boots up, there you go. So pretty. So the display is a 13.9 inches. It's 3K, as they say. It's 3000 by 2000 resolution, 260 pixels per inch. It's plenty bright. It's super bright. 450 nits to be exact.
That's really bright.
Yeah. You probably want to turn it down in the middle of the night, because you would wake up everybody.
Well, I turn all my monitors down after by 8 o'clock. My monitors are pretty close to 0 at that point.
It's bright, yeah.
So basically, though, it's essentially a 14-inch Ultrabook.
Yeah.
It completes with the XPS, Dell XPS.
Yes.
It competes with the ThinkPads.
Yes, absolutely, it does. It's pretty comparable to those as far as specs go too. It has really nice contrasty colors on the screen. The viewing angles on here are also really excellent when you look side to side. 178 degrees is what they spec'd it out at, so that's very good.
The person next to you on the plane can see everything you're doing.
So if you're privacy conscious, you might want to put one of those privacy screens on it. So, you know, that's something to think about. I really enjoyed watching TV shows on this screen, and I found myself watching them for hours and not noticing how long it was. The bezel is so thin and it gets so bright. It was just really easy to just sit back and be entertained, and I really enjoyed that about this. I could easily see myself taking this on a plane with me, especially on a long plane flight overseas, since it's small enough to fit on one of those airplane trays and it won't get attacked whenever somebody leans back. You know, it's small enough to do that, but you got that nice big screen, so it's a nice fair equalization of both of those parts. So you're probably wondering, since it's so small, where's that webcam?
Do we have a nostril cam?
We do. It pokes up. Isn't that weird? I'll get a close-up of this so everybody can see.
It's not even a nostril cam, it's a chest cam.
It is so weird. It pokes up from the keyboard. It's a 1 megapixel camera, so don't be impressed. You probably want to plug in a USB one, to be honest. That Logitech one is our favorite. But it's just really cool how they integrated it. I love that it closes down. It's physically turned off, so it can't be remotely turned on by attackers because you have to physically pop it up to be able to turn it on and enable it. It's a very cool security feature, which I really appreciated. And then as far as the keyboard goes, it's a chiclet keyboard. It's backlit. There's 3 different levels of brightness that you can set it to. It's only one colored, no RGBs or anything fancy like that, like you get on gaming ones. I like the positioning of the keys. I had no problems as a touch type as working with this. Although I would say that I do prefer some more travel because the travel is pretty narrow. It's pretty slim on this machine.
Shallow.
Yeah, it's shallow compared to other ones that I've tried out. It's also incredibly quiet to type on too, so pretty friendly with if you have other people in the room and you're trying to keep them from hearing everything that you're doing. Now right above the keyboard is a Windows Hello fingerprint sensor, which you can go like that to log in, and I'm totally loving that thing. It is so easy to use and it works very well, and you can also use it as a little power button too. I was really impressed by the audio quality on here as well. You'll see there's 2 speakers on the sides. They also say there's a 4th one integrated here and here, which is really cool. So it's all Dolby Atmos speakers. They say that it gives you this 3D type of experience. It's very immersive.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like really immersive. I was impressed. I mean, it's not going to be as good as most of your headphones, but it's good.
Well, I find it's funny because I have Atmos turned off on almost. I love Atmos in home theaters.
Yeah.
I don't like it in devices because the way they're manipulating the audio that gives it that huge sound.
Yeah.
Great for movies, horrible for music.
Yeah, great for movies.
In my opinion.
Yes, great for movies. It's very clear, very loud, but I also noticed that it doesn't lose quality whenever you turn it up to the highest volume that you can get.
We hear that a lot on laptops where you turn it up and it's like goes from like yeah, it gets blown out.
It does. It gets completely blown out. This does not get blown out, and I really appreciated that. So they did a really great job on those, and I think they took a lot of time to build in those speakers. So great job on the speakers, Huawei. The touchpad is also excellent. It's smooth glass, got high accuracy. It's very big too, which I also appreciated. You do have a couple of configuration options. The notebook that I have here is the Core i7-8550U. There's also an i5-8250U CPU. They come with, respectively, there's an Nvidia GeForce MX 150, that's the one this one has, or integrated UHD 620 graphics from Intel. This GPU is not going to allow you to play heavy games or do any kind of VR, so don't expect that. You can't play 4K HDR content on here. You could get away with playing less graphic intensive games though, if you want to. You might have to lower those resolutions though. I couldn't even do my regular and usual TimeSpy test on this because the GPU is not strong enough. It's not compatible with TimeSpy with 3D Mark. Now I was able to try Skydiver, which got a score of 7424. That's better than about 22% of the results with the same GPU and CPU. So it's a little low, but with these specs, I was able to encode a video, a 36-minute 1080p video in Handbrake to that default setting of fast 1080p 30 in about 40 minutes. So rather slow, but kind of expected for this kind of laptop.
Is there a fan inside of this one?
There is. It does not get loud.
Well, that's a big plus.
It does get a little hot if you have this on your lap whenever you're sitting down, like, you know, in your living room on your couch. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So I wouldn't expect it to get very loud at all, and I don't expect it to heat up your legs at all.
I'm wondering, so probably about like 55, 60 frames per second on the Handbrake render?
Yeah, absolutely. Now you do get an option of 8 or 16 gigs of LPDDR3 RAM, and there's a 512 gig NVMe M.2 SSD. You can also get 256 with the i5 model, so you have a couple of options. Technically, you could take off the backplate on this thing, and you could remove enough parts to replace the SSD, but it's not recommended, so you probably don't want to do that. You might break the thing.
If you want 1 terabyte of storage.
If you want 1 terabyte of storage, you could totally do it, but just be really, really, really careful. Luckily, it does come with more ports than expected, which is nice. So you could add an external SSD if you wanted to. That
Only
might
if
be
you
a
want
good
slow external storage.
It has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. There's 1 USB-C, 1 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C. Both of those can be used for charging, which is pretty cool. And the other side has USB-A. It's a 3.0 type port.
Nice.
So you do have a full USB on here from the previous generation, which is really cool. Now you're probably wondering though, how long does it last? It comes with a 57.4 watt-hour battery, and it lasts well over 12 hours with lots of video playback and working. This is pretty similar to the XPS 13 that I currently have and that I have Linux installed on. That's the developer edition of XPS 13, which I think is one of its closest competitors, like we mentioned. And its pricing is a little bit more expensive than the XPS 13, though, so that's something to think about.
The extra inch costs you a little more.
Yeah, it does. The i5 is $1199.99 with 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD, and then those UHD graphics. The i7 version, this one here, it's 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and then the Nvidia GeForce GPU. This one's $1499.99 MSRP. It's currently on sale though, probably for the holidays, $1349.99 for that. So I would say I was thoroughly impressed with this thing. It's really beautiful. I love the travel friendliness of it. They packed a lot of quality features into such a tiny frame. It's just it's a baby. It's a baby, and it's got that gorgeous screen on it, which I truly appreciated. So, and I love the speakers. I think those were one of my favorite parts.
Well, between 450 nits, which means you are completely ready to compute in the cafe in Miami at high noon. Decent speakers.
Yes.
So that's a big plus. So it sounds like about 15 to 20% VIG over a similarly configured XPS 13.
Yeah.
But you do get a bigger screen in exchange for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if entertainment, if a bigger screen is the one thing that you're really going for, you would probably want to choose this.
Was it a touchscreen?
It is a touchscreen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't mention that. It is a touchscreen. So that is one thing to think about too, is if you need touch, this is a very good option to consider. So if you have any questions about this device or any other notebooks that are in this type of market, definitely email us, ask@TekThing.com. We've reviewed a few of them here, which we love. This is one of our favorite kinds of products that we like to have on the show. So ask@TekThing.com. You can share your thoughts, or you can tweet us @TekThing. We'll be happy to answer your questions for you on the show.
We will. Everybody makes gaming PCs. While some are more stylish than others, they're almost always mid-towers or triangles the size of mid-towers, or mid-towers with crazy faceplates that look like robots or mechs, or you get the idea. They all tend to be fairly hefty, and they are designed to stay at home, usually on the floor, next to your desk. Which is why I'm sitting here lofting around Lenovo's new Legion Cube PC.
Ooh.
It's all about the handle, people.
I'm liking the handle.
Well, it's, we see a lot of people talking about esports. A lot of people are sponsoring esports, which is, the fancy name for LAN parties where you can make money if you're good enough. And this is your basic esports LAN party friendly enclosure. It's like 9 by 13 by 9.5 inches. And it packs a full Core i7 or Core i5 mini ITX PC inside. Total weight's under 20 pounds, which is not exactly, I want to sprint with it, but isn't going to kill you. And it's a nice cooling config. CPU, GPU, motherboard are separated on the right side from the power supply unit and the drives on the left side. And I think the power supply and the drives are separated. It's pretty slick. And yes, gamers, it has integrated RGB lighting, and in case you didn't notice, a glass top that leaves your GPU all kinds of visible.
Yay!
Okay, it's not all about the handle, right? First of all, this is going to fit nicely on or under a desk without feeling like you have the, cinder block wall next to you that's about to tip over. Yeah.
That's how I feel with my PC at home right now.
It looms.
It does.
And of course, performance is critical for gaming. The model Lenovo loaned us for testing included an Nvidia GTX 1060, a Core i7 8700K. It's like 3.2 gigahertz, 4.6 with turbo boost, which isn't very useful when you're running all cores, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm going to be blunt. The 8700K GTX 1060 did exactly what we expected a properly cooled rig to do, solid 1080p gaming. That's a more powerful CPU than a GPU in terms of sort of like looking at your build ratio there. Yeah. That said, the 1060 probably a pretty good choice during what I'm going to call the Nvidia RTX transitional period.
Oh,
when you're ready, you can upgrade to a 20 series GPU, like when RTX games are out in volume or when the prices drop on those 20 series GPUs. Radeon 570s are offered on some models. It's well, I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have a 1060 or a 1050 Ti. A lot of drive offerings, but mostly they're about giving you a ton of space and some performance. At the low end, it's a basic 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM drive, and then you can either end up, as the prices go up, they pair a 1 terabyte drive, standard hard drive, with either 128 or 256 gigabyte SSDs.
Nice.
Remember, SSDs don't speed up your games, they just speed up how fast you can load games or load levels inside your games. Ethernet, 2x2 802.11ac, Bluetooth 4.2, and a really nice selection of USB ports. 6 on the back, 4 3.1 and 2 2.0, with 2 USB 3.0 ports on the front, and a headset and a mic jack on the front, so all the things are covered.
Those are useful.
Yes, I like having ports on the front.
I do too.
You know, and they're down on the base, which may take a little bit of looking for them, but I
interesting.
swear they are there. Well, if they put them on the top, it would have
Right,
interfered with the
yeah.
RGB glass.
We can't have anything doing that with the RGBs.
I can, but I'm a Philistine. So it was like $1444 as configured with an 8700K, 1 terabyte plus 128 gigabyte SSD and that 1060. Entry-level C730 with a Core i7-8700 and 570 graphics is going to run you about $1,235. Now, I would rather have a 1050 than a 570, but again, if you're planning a 20 series GPU upgrade soon, that lower price on that is tempting. Now, if you don't need Core i7 CPU performance or you're paling at the idea of a $1,200 or $1,400 gaming PC, Legion's got their C530 cubes, which is essentially the same enclosure with a Core i5 processor. Those start at $835.99, and those will have 8 gigabytes of RAM, a Core i5 8400, and then they'll do like a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM with 16 gigabytes of Optane on the entry-level system, and 1050 Ti graphics, which is a really tempting rig if you're ready to DIY, like, you know, well, I should say, if you're not ready to DIY a Ryzen 5 series system with an AMD 590. AMD just dropped the 590, which is kind of like, ooh, a little bit more tempting than the 1050 options, if you can find one for sale. But that's a really good, that's a nice machine for $836.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, so based on the pricing, when we did the review, you are going to pay a premium for the compact footprints, whether you're looking at like Lenovo's Legion gaming PCs or Dell Inspiron gaming PCs.
Yeah.
Those mid-towers, they're either going to give you a bump up in GPU or a slightly lower price for the same, like you'll have the same processor and RAM, but you might get a little bit better graphics or a little bit less on the price. So that's something to think about. Now, I just want an easy-to-pack 1080p monitor. And don't send me links to that Velcro contraption. So you, okay, feel free to send me. No, there's
How
a
about
thing.
a foldable one from Samsung?
I'm waiting for that. Or a roll-up one. Like you could do the roll-up one and just strap the roll-up one here. But there actually is. There's a company that makes, it's like a nylon Velcro harness for your monitor. So you can have your monitor on one side and your computer on the other. In any case.
It's too much work.
Well, considering I walked into the office today carrying a monitor with one hand like
Oh,
this.
jeez.
You know, but this is really light and thin. We'll talk about this next week. Lenovo's Legion Cube PCs are available now. Links are in the show notes. If you're thinking about buying a PC or building a PC or just sniffing around PCs in general because, hey, GPUs don't look painfully expensive anymore.
Finally.
Oh my goodness. Email ask@TekThing.com.
The holidays are upon us, and if you run an online business, you know how important this part of the year is. You need to make sure your platform, your services, and your systems are running for an influx of customers. But here's the thing, incidents are going to happen at any time, anywhere, and you want to make sure that your company responds quickly and efficiently to unplanned issues by coordinating between your unsung heroes, who are your ops team and your software dev teams. So getting alerts immediately is critical when an incident occurs, and that's why there's Opsgenie by Atlassian. Opsgenie empowers your teams to plan for service disruptions, stay in control, and it helps to notify all the right people through scheduling and escalation paths that take into account things like time zones and holidays. Deployment and scheduling of alerts is totally flexible, and it's supported by over 200 integrations like Jira, Amazon CloudWatch, Datadog, and a lot more. Opsgenie can also help your team learn how to improve future incident responses with the built-in tracking and insights. I mean, just this past weekend, I was shopping one of my favorite online retailers, and their site went down for maintenance right in the middle of my shopping, costing them time and money during one of the busiest shopping weekends of the year. They lost my sale because I went to another site to buy the thing that I wanted. So if your admin Kate isn't available that day to fix a server problem, Opsgenie will take that into consideration by alerting Mary instead and working down your escalation path. Your customers are happy because that fast response time happens. Planning before an incident is crucial. With Opsgenie, your next incident doesn't stand a chance. Visit Opsgenie.com to sign up to get a free company account and add up to 5 team members, no credit card required. That's Opsgenie.com. Never miss a critical alert again with Opsgenie. And our thanks to Atlassian Opsgenie for their support of TekThing.
As you know, I'm a weather nerd.
Yes.
And, well, okay, so I know I've mentioned this before years ago, but this is a website called DarkSky.net, and they have apps
Oh, it's so cool.
for iOS and for what's that one that I'm using right now? Android. And, but they do these incredibly what they call hyperlocal forecasts. And what's always blows me away is when I get a notification and that it's going to start raining in a few minutes. And
oh man, it's going to start raining?
Yes.
Oh, I need to use this website.
This website is amazing. But so I found a bunch of stuff. Like, for example, I use that because we were all like, if the fire's not going to stop till it stops raining. And something you might want to look around, if you have, you know, whether it's earthquakes or fires or tornadoes or whatever hammers your particular portion of the United States, it's always amazing to see what is out there to look at. For example, here in California, the fire.ca.gov is the primary website where you learn about what's going on with fires, what they call the major incidents. And boy, there are a lot of them here.
Oh yeah.
And then they give you map detail, which they do a Google map mix, and that's what 155,000 acres looks like when it's burned. So that'll be exciting. But as I started nosing around, I was looking for more information to try to figure out where the winds was heading, if it was likely that our air was going to get more or less clear the next day. And one thing I didn't realize is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they've always done sort of like the satellite imagery of the day, but check this out. You can actually get real-time satellite imagery. And this blew me away because I had no idea this website existed. nesdis.noaa.gov. You know, feel free to make Neil Stephenson references if you want to. You'll know the novel if you've read it. But it was mind-blowing for me. Now, it's not the fastest server on the planet, but it is kind of amazing to realize how much information is available now. And actually, here, pull this up, because I'm sitting here. Once the images is loaded in here, you can nose around it and scroll into it and
start I like that everything's labeled, too.
Yeah, and there's like an infrared map that you can look at, and the water vapor map, and the geocolor map. So there's lots of stuff. You know, this is the full-on big blue marble view. So that's a really cool one if you've never seen it and you're kind of wondering what the giant weather pattern over your head is. And during the fire, of course, there was a big streak of smoke that was going offshore and then getting basically blown in over our houses. Yeah. Speaking of smoke, if you're wondering what the air quality is like in your area, aqicn.org. This is the real-time air quality index. What I'm looking at right here is not too far from where I live over in, this is Oakland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it gives you a really nice track of what's going on. So right now, here we go. This is Kansas City, and we've got Oklahoma, and it's pretty crazy to look at the air quality across the entire United States and chunks of Mexico and Canada. You know, we had a couple of areas that were basically black over here because the particle count was over 500 during the fire. Another one you can look at is AirNow.gov. That's the EPA's, and they give you a huge map of the continental United States. And again, you can drill down, for example, to go by us. Just type in the zip code, and look, this is our basic. This is how things usually are.
Finally back to moderate.
Well, we've been back to moderate for about a week. We actually got down into the good, which is always nice. One last thing before we go. I started looking at wind maps in the Bay Area almost 2 decades ago because it was such a novel idea where you could actually, they would map and give you an idea. Not that, you know, basically the wind comes out of the Golden Gate and blows out over Oakland and heads towards, you know, Sacramento. Yeah. But this is mesmerizing. Hint.fm/wind. It's a wind map.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's another basic, I believe it's actually real time, and you can look at all of the wind and the weather patterns, or how the wind impacts the weather patterns. Awesome. And it was crazy because the winds over here started to shift, and that's when our air started to clear up a little bit where we are. But you can also see like giant fronts and storms moving through, and it's really pretty.
Well, if you're ever wondering why it's faster to fly to the East Coast than it is to get to the West Coast, that's why. Those headwinds, man. Those are great.
Tailwinds at that point.
Yeah, tailwinds. Those are awesome. I'm going to have to bookmark all of those.
I was just, I'm sitting here doing, I'm sorry, I know you're here, but this is, I'll stop now.
That's okay.
FM/wind.
The point of the show is to nerd out about all this cool stuff, especially when it helps with your health. If there's fires outside.
Or just wondering when you can send the kids out to play without wondering if they're going to be coming back vomiting and possibly ridden with disease. Yeah. Particles deep in their lungs.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
It was a long week inside.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my goodness. Got a cool website to share? Do us a favor, email ask@TekThing.com or tweet at Patrick Norton or
@Snoobs.
Because we're here for you.
Yes, we are.
A big thank you to Hack5 for the studio space. If you haven't been, you should go to hack5.org. They have security and privacy podcasts. Well, actually, right now they got a whole bunch of holiday specials. Right now, you can click over here to find the hodcasts. We call them podcasts here in California, but I like to call them hodcasts when I can. And then go over to c2.hack5.org to learn about Cloud C2 remote pen testing made easy. You can deploy and manage fleets of Hack5 gear from a simple cloud dashboard. We're talking enterprise tools for like nothing, people. This is a good thing. Hack5.org is the website to go to learn more about Hack5 products, and we thank them for the studio space.
And remember, once in a while, put down your phone, step away from your screen, close the laptop, and do something analog like Joshua, who wrote in with a bunch of pictures. He says, my family and I purchased about 1.5 acres 6 months ago. We have been working on many analog projects almost every weekend since. Oh, he hasn't done a garden yet. He needs to. I have learned how to weld, mostly because I am too cheap to pay somebody else to do it. This was to put up the 300 feet of fence so far, with much more to go. Built our own 24 by 30 garage. Many more analog projects will happen in it over the years. Also built a server rack in my master closet to feed the property, you know, when we need to sit down and take a break from something analog. Yes, Patrick, I have a hardwired connection in every room of my house and garage. We're a family of 6, with our oldest having her boyfriend move in the day she turned 18, and they're building a tiny house out of a 12 by 30 shed they just purchased, and the legacy continues.
Nice.
Love the show. I have been a fan since the days of Patrick and the kilt, from Joshua. And I had to include that email because of the kilt reference. So great. So old school. I love it.
Thank you so much, Joshua.
Yes, thank you, Joshua. Love the photos. And if you have any analog pics you want to share with us, definitely send them over. ask@tekthing.com. We would love to feature them in a future episode.
Also, welding is fun. But structural welding and roll cages, I leave to other people. I love welding, though.
That does look fun.
I love TIG welding. I am creating with plasma.
Oh my gosh.
Fire. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
See you next week on TekThing.
That does look really fun. I would like to learn how to weld. I haven't learned.
Didn't you? Well, you were in the
I learned blacksmithing. Yeah, I learned some blacksmithing stuff, and I've seen welding done, but I've never gotten to do it myself.
It's a really weird thing because you wear goggles and you hold a welding gun.
Yeah.
And you basically look at the pools. Well, I'm like mentally TIG welding. Well, but you create a puddle, right?
Yeah.
You melt steel.
Yeah.
While you're looking at it.
That's amazing.
It's really weird. Almost as weird as blowing
Hence
glass.
hence the cover.
Yes, welding
To protect
spatter.
your eyeballs.
Turns out MIG welding splatter will stick to a titanium ring. You don't want it on your face, and you can severely damage your eyesight by the time you look at it.
Yeah.
That's why. Plus, you can't actually see the pool at the base of the plasma.
It's too bright. It's so bright you wouldn't be able to see it without the goggles on.
Plasma on a stick makes me feel so superhero-y.
It is pretty cool and superhero-y. I like that. Yeah, I need to learn it one day. All these things I want to learn. Oh yeah, I should go there. We do have a local one here.
Yeah, Crucible's a great place to learn.